you may recognize me as one of the girls who stands over there and waves her arms around. I am a sign language interpreter. And I'd like to tell you a little bit about my journey to get to this place. I grew up in a strong Christian family, the youngest of 3 girls. I was born with a visual processing disorder. My eyes don't work quite right with each other or with my brain. And so that caused some problems in school. Thankfully, I was homeschooled, so I got that one-on-one attention I needed. But I struggled to learn to read, and then after that, I continued to struggle with spelling and taking tests and things of that sort. When I was about 10, I went through a couple of years of intensive vision therapy training, and then I graduated high school in 2000, and I never planned to go to college because formal education really isn't the best way that I learn. But a couple of years after I graduated, I felt God calling me to become a sign language interpreter. I had taken American Sign Language, ASL, as my language in high school, and I loved it, but I hadn't done a lot with it. And then I went to a deaf camp in Tennessee, and at the same time as I was there was an interpreter track. And I felt God calling me to go in that direction. But that meant that I had to go to college, and I had to major in ASL, which, in case you hadn't noticed, is a visual language. Adding to that, the interpreting program is incredibly difficult. There's a lot of stringent screening process to get into it, and then of the people that get into it, only about 20% of them actually graduate. So it's a very difficult program. I was accepted into it and started, but I continued to struggle with my visual issues. I went back to vision therapy, and testing showed that I have very poor visual memory and poor visual discrimination. So for certain things with signing, that could be difficult, especially like finger spelling, where a hand shape signifies each letter of the English alphabet. It's used for names and things of that sort. And so when someone would finger spell to me, if I could distinguish the shapes enough to know what the letters were, I forgot it all by the end of the word. So I was struggling to just get 3-letter words at that point. Then I started having more physical problems. I was having pain all over my body, severe pain, fatigue, sleeping problems, even some cognitive problems. I had times when my short-term memory would go, and I would have language production problems. Some days I felt like I had end-stage cancer and the beginning of dementia, but eventually I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia, which is a neurological disease. It's not fatal, but it's not curable either. So basically, you just have to learn to live with the symptoms for the rest of your life. So at that point, my teachers are telling me I might want to think about a different career. Continuing on in the program seemed really silly. It seemed impossible. But when you look back through the Bible, there's a lot of times when God triumphs through that. Think about the Israelites marching around a wall 14 times. That seems really silly, but God triumphs through it. Throwing a stone at a giant, that's silly, maybe even foolish, but God did a miracle through that. A little bit of bread and some fish, feeding thousands of people, that's silly, but God did a miracle through it. And so I continued on through the program, brought alongside teachers that worked with me one-on-one, family and friends who prayed for and supported me. And even so, physically, it was impossible for me to get through that program. But I'm here today. I graduated last year. I work as an interpreter at Portland Community College. In the classrooms here and volunteer here and do a little interpreting at another church occasionally. I am limited with my physical issues. I can only work about 10 hours a week, but I am working. I am a good interpreter, and I love what I do. I love being able to work with people and with languages, and I love fulfilling what God has gave me the courage and ability to do. And so I'd like to encourage all of you. I know many people here are facing struggles. Maybe they're emotional or physical, relationships, financial, whatever it is, we know that our God is a God of miracles. And sometimes He doesn't just go poof and the miracle happens, but sometimes He asks us to go through frustrations. We have to deal with pain and deal with frustrations. I can't tell you how many classes I cried through because I was in so much pain, or how many tests I failed because my cognitive issues weren't there. But in the end, He brings us through, and it's obvious that it was Him and not us. So keep on keeping on. Thank you.